What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The one and only James Williams, Dark Waters, and I'm back. And I wanted to do this video because, first of all, let me start off by saying this will be fair use, so I don't want to hear no crap from you, YouTube. This is what's called fair use. But nonetheless, listen, I wanted to do this video because you see revelations just spilling out all over the place, and levels of understanding increasing at an exponential rate. You and I, who are on this channel, you and I who watch this type of content, we already know these things, but it's starting to sink into mainstream. And I wouldn't say that, the Joe Rogan podcast is necessarily 100% mainstream, but when it comes to podcasts and conversations, it is like mainstream podcasting. And then when you combine somebody like Tucker Carlson talking about what he's getting ready to discuss, which is the prevalence of supernatural, spiritual UFO encounters, meaning that he believes that it's a spiritual thing. He hasn't gone as far as to say he believes it's demonic, but nonetheless, he's skirting around it. You come to the understanding that we've reached a new place where people on the mountain of influence are not afraid to talk about the most important things. And I submit to you that these conversations are the most important conversations that we can have as a society. They're way more important than some of the other kind of run-of-the-mill, dumb, stupid conversations that people are having all over the place. But let us get started. Let us start. So the premise of this video is talking about UFOs. And what are they? Where do they come from? And he has a very interesting outlook on it. Very, very interesting outlook on it.
Okay, so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, like it's a binary. They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but like, what are these things? Are they good or bad? And
now, you always know the fruit of a thing by, you always know a tree by its fruit, point blank, period.
And I think some of them are bad. And if the U.S. government knows that, or elements, the people within the U.S. government know that, then, then they're serving a bad force. And
well, when you say spiritual, like what makes you draw that conclusion that they're spiritual?
What's the obvious? I mean, spiritual may be the
thing that strikes me about Joe Rogan is he's genuinely able to pretend like he doesn't understand something. Like he's genuinely able to pretend like he doesn't know. I mean, when you look at it, it really comes across as authentic. Like the question just came across as being an authentic, real question. What makes you think, when you say spiritual, what makes you think they're spiritual? Joe, you know these things. You absolutely know these things. There's no way you'd be a podcaster at the level that he's at, and he's not encountered supernatural and spiritual forces.
Wrong word, supernatural. They're beyond nature as we understand it. I mean, obviously they are. I mean, just chart their physical behavior. It doesn't, it goes outside of what we understand about physics. No visible means of propulsion, coming at indescribable speed, hitting the ocean, continuing at speeds that are impossible undersea. I mean, in other words, if I take a, 9mm round or 7.62 by 39 and shoot you at 50 yards underwater in a swimming pool, and it's even more intense in salt water because it's denser, you could catch the bullet if it even makes it to you, right? So if you have a craft, any object underwater that's traveling at 500 knots as measured by sonar, right there you're challenging our understanding of physics. Like, what is that? How can that be? So, yeah.
I'm going to tell you what's interesting. Now, remember, the premise of this interview is that these things are spiritual and supernatural. Remember when Jesus walked on water? So he goes up to pray, comes down, his disciples are on a boat, storming. He just come walking on water, exercising his dominion over the sea and over water. If you know what that means spiritually, then you know where this whole alien conversation, or not necessarily alien, but spiritual conversation as it pertains to the water, why it's significant. So he walks on water, gets over to the other side, is met by this guy full of demons called Legion. He casts that into a bunch of pigs, and them pigs run and jump right back into the sea. And so when you start to look for the significance of what things coming in and out of the sea means, it's super biblically significant. I mean, it's absolutely biblically significant, and therefore it's significant to you in your life, whether you believe in God or believe in Jesus or not. Just because you don't believe don't mean that it doesn't exist. That's for you to die and find out on your own. I'm beyond trying to convince people. You'll figure it out one way or the other. The point I'm making is this: as a Stankonia ambassador, you need to understand these things. And I'll submit something else to you. There's a guy named Kevin Gates that's a rapper. Kevin, if you go watch some of his, in fact, just type in Kevin Gates demonic videos. You're going to see Kevin on there talking about, yeah, I just came out of the sea. I just came from the bottom of the sea. You're going to see him talking about it. What's at the bottom of the sea? That's the question. And that's what they're actually talking about. I mean, when you really get to the bottom of this conversation, they're talking about what the hell is at the bottom of the sea.
They've tracked that. They've tracked things going 500 knots under the sea.
Yeah, really. Yeah, much faster than any object can actually go undersea. Yo, for sure. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on underwater, and a lot. And there's video of these things coming out of the sky into the water and also emerging from the water.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's so blurry though.
The blurry narrative. I coming from the cryptid community, and arguably probably one of the most influential people in that community over the past, I don't know, maybe 8-9 years, the blurry narrative is the most insane narrative there is. It really is. For example, I'll give you just an example. Me and Joe decide we're gonna go rob a store, right? And Joe's wearing that very same shirt that he has on. I'm wearing his very same clothes I have on. We go rob the store, but the video is grainy and slightly blurry, but the police are able to identify us by the clothes that we're wearing. And we go to the next place, and we come out of the store, we done rob the store, we get in the car, they catch us on the traffic camera, and then we head up the street, and we get out, and we go somewhere else, and they catch us with a clear video of us on the camera. That's evidence that's admissible into a court of law, that we were the people who were robbing that store. And so when you look at a piece of evidence as one singular thing, then you can complain about it being blurry. But when you have evidence that's spread out over time, and it's the same thing, the same description, the same everything, it negates the whole blurry narrative. Now, I'm going to say this to you. You have to understand that Tucker Carlson has, as a man on the mountain of influence in the mainstream media and of, I would say, far-reaching network, he's seen things that nobody else has seen, right? He's seen things that you and I have never seen, and I'm sure that Joe has seen things that no one else has seen. This is the interesting thing about him as a personality, this ability to play dumb. Probably arguably one of the most intelligent podcasters there is, but it's that ability to walk the line, and he's walking it.
I don't think it's
the
that
transmedium video.
Yeah, I don't think some of it's that blurry. I think some of it's crystal clear.
We just don't have access to it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Just we haven't seen it?
Correct.
So they have some stuff.
For sure. So, but there's just a lot going on underwater, and it's measured. And so whatever. I mean, these are all, again, this is like the most obvious observable level of it, but then you just ask yourself, like, what is this actually? And, if there's been extensive knowledge of this for decades, like maybe 80 years at least, if not going back to the 30s, 90 years, to what end? So there are two possible explanations, obvious explanations. The first is the one you often hear, which is this is so heavy that if the public were to know about it, it would be just disruptive. It would be too scary. Like, you don't want to scare people for no good reason. There's nothing we can do about it. And you also don't want to suggest that, the U.S. military isn't capable of protecting the country, the homeland. And it does suggest that. If you can't control these objects in your airspace, and that's known, that they can't, that's known, okay? Then that suggests a limit to the power of the U.S. military, and you don't want to tell people that because then they won't believe that they're safe. I get it.
No, I don't get it. I don't get it because we know for a fact that the U.S. military and other government militaries have gotten technologies from these realms, from these dimensions. We know they've done it. We know that they were using drugs to go into different realms and dimensions and get information from clockwork elves, using DMT trips to go and get information from extra dimensional beings, which, I mean, you might as well call them demons. And the craziest thing is, people refuse to hold the conversation in the public's eye about this, and the government refused to reveal it to the public, but you can look all around and see the manifestations of it everywhere. I mean, you see it everywhere. Absolutely everywhere you turn, you see it. And that's the craziest thing. But again, I think it's very interesting that Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson, two men at the peak of the mountains of influence, actually are having these conversations and moving the narrative. What you're watching is the narrative being shifted toward supernatural, demonic, and it coming out publicly. And it's a phenomenal thing. It's a great thing. I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm out of here. Peace.